Welcome back, everyone. There are many in our city taking an active stance to fight the opioid crisis. We're seeing people all over our community coming together to help those battling addiction. And with us today to talk more about where people can turn for help is Dave Marlon, who's the CEO of Solutions Recovery. David, thanks so much for being on the program with us today.
Thanks for having me. It's an honor.
I know this is an important issue across our city. Even in Ward 2, Councilman's going to touch on that a little bit. Dave, give us some perspective. People have been taking opioids for years, but why have we now all of a sudden in the last year, 2 or 3, heard about this opioid crisis? What changed? What happened to where all of a sudden it's gone from people taking them to now we have this crisis where people are dying across our country?
Yeah, it's absolutely reached epidemic proportions. When I founded Solutions just over 13 years ago, we treated all kinds of addictions, and we had a pretty mixed bag of all kinds of patients. Now, in this year, when we get a phone call, somebody asking for help, more than half the folks calling are calling due to opiate dependence.
What changed, Dave? What changed over the last few years?
Well, from my perspective, it's been two things. The pharmaceutical companies have been marketing more actively, and the access to pharmaceuticals has dramatically increased. When you look at the statistics about the number of oxycodone prescriptions written in the United States, it's astounding. There's enough opiates to have every Nevadan use for 2 weeks prescribed in Nevada.
Gosh.
Now, at the same time, while Big Pharma has been distributing more and more drugs, the narco states, the organizations mostly coming out of Mexico and South America, they have been increasing the distribution of illegal opiates. So we've kind of had a double whammy.
Wow. Councilman, I know one of the issues for you that you've seen is kind of how you talked about this, I know, in the military, that it was opioids all of a sudden were prescribed. First thing, no, just don't only take them for severe things, acute pain. And then all of a sudden they were being prescribed for depression, PTSD, whatever it might be. It was kind of a cure-all for many things, right?
Yeah, the marketing of the opioids became a lie. And the marketing of opioids was targeted veterans through a book, through a notional veteran that's actually was quoted in the book as saying, these opioids are the secret to helping all veterans with PTSD and all of our ailments that we have. So there was an increase in long-term prescription to veterans that has now turned into an epidemic. And further, what we have in Ward 2, and I just want to bring it right home, right around our Palo Verde High School, in that area, what we're finding happens is our youth, they'll have a sports injury and they'll take an opioid for it. And what they're finding is if you take it for more than 2 weeks or so, you have a 25% chance of becoming addicted. Yeah. And once you become addicted and then you run out of pills at home, you go on the street and the price of the pills is so high, you need an alternative. And that's when the drug dealers say, hey, I have this heroin for $5 instead of $70. And then you start down this path. And right around the Palo Verde High School in Ward 2, there is a concrete wash that we were told that our students are down there doing drugs because they can't be seen. They're hidden down there. So we have a real problem in just Ward 2. It's not demographic dependent. It is not academic dependent. It's just a real problem.
Wow. Dave, I remember hearing, and Councilman and I have talked about this in the past, that pharmaceutical companies said that maybe 1% of the people taking opioids would become addicted. But the number's much higher than that in reality, isn't it?
It's definitely much higher than that. And like the councilman said, in 3 to 14 days, some signs of dependence start occurring. You start developing withdrawal symptoms if you don't get it. So, you know, you've been taking it maybe for pain for a week, for 2 weeks, for 3 weeks. Now you start getting anxious. You start having gastrointestinal problems. You start getting cramps and aches to the point where you feel like you need it. Now, when you start taking it, you start developing tolerance. So now, even when you take 2 or you take 1, you end up needing more of the same substance to get the same desired effect, which begins the problem of addiction.
Dave, walk us through the path. Councilman touched on this. Walk us through the path of, okay, you're taking prescription medication, you're needing more of it. It's becoming too expensive. Maybe your doctor's not going to keep prescribing more and more and more. So you go on the street. And then walk us through kind of a progression of typically what happens once that occurs, when someone goes onto the street to buy an opioid.
Well, me personally managing the largest drug and alcohol treatment center in Nevada, and doing interventions and helping clients, over 5,000 clients here in the Valley over the last 13 years. I've seen this story too many times. People come in where they tried an oxy, or they tried a pill at school or from their friends, or they swiped it from a relative. They tried this for a little while. Now they're dependent, and they start asking around for it. And it's not from a spooky guy at the street corner. They're asking their peers for them. Hey, can I have a pill? Now they find someone who's willing to sell them the pills. When they become too cost prohibitive, they're often offered some heroin, a balloon. They wrap a little piece of it in a balloon and sell it to them wrapped in that rubber. And they'll often tell them you could just smoke it, so they don't have to go right to IV injecting it. So now you bring in this progression from maybe snorting or smoking a pill, or having a pill orally, to smoking some heroin. Then the next, they'll tie you off and help you inject it, a more efficient way to deliver the drug, and turn you into an IV heroin user.
Wow.
Wow. And Dave, you mentioned that heroin is different than other addictions in that many of them are just psychologically addicting, but this is physiologically addicting as well.
Yeah, correct. These folks need it. I tell stories where, I need oxygen to live. And if you cut off my supply of oxygen, I'm going to do anything I can to
fight.
stop you. Maybe hit you, even though I respect you, even though I may love the person. I'm going to lie or do whatever I can to get what I physiologically need.
Right.
And that's how it is with opiates.
Wow. Dave, we're coming down to the end of the show, but let's talk about what people can do to find help. I really want to make sure that we spend some time talking about that.
If you develop the disease of addiction, you should get medical help. And there's a variety of medical facilities that are accredited, that are state licensed, that I encourage people to reach out to. One of them is Solutions Recovery or American Addiction Centers, but there's many in the Valley.
All right.
Get help.
All right. David, thank you so much. Great discussion. Very, very interesting, enlightening all the way around. I want to thank you for being on the show. I want to tell everybody out there, we always want to hear from you. So if you have something you'd like to share with Councilman Soroka, hey, you can always find him on Facebook and Twitter. And by the way, if you leave a comment, we may use your post on one of our upcoming shows. You can also just pick up the phone. He's at 702-229-6405, or shoot him an email. His address is ssoroka@lasvegasnevada.gov. Again, Dave, Marlon, thank you so much. Great discussion. Good luck to you in Solutions Recovery. We wish you the best of luck, and you're doing good work out there. Councilman, we'll have you back in 6 weeks with another update from good old Ward 2.
Thank you, Dave. Great to be here.
We want to thank you for joining us for this edition of Access City Council.